about to happen in this classroom?
I'm in your class now.
Win. Green. Keep up. Keep up. Other student. Keep up. Ivan. Keep up. Bet y'all wonder what this cup is for.
Okay.
It's okay. I wonder too. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do with it yet. Missed it anyway.
I guess so.
All right. That's the best.
I got it just for yours.
Need a color bearer. Give me my color bearer.
Keeper
of the colors. Who's it going to be? Going to be keeper of the colors?
I don't know what that means, but I know it.
Means it shall not hit the ground. You are the Pledge of Allegiance.
I don't know.
I didn't really have that plan. So, put my shades up. Take my salutary neglect off. If I was the king and I just took my shades off, what does that mean?
You're ready to speak.
You're angry.
It's my salutary neglect. This whole big package, I already got my shades on. Salutary neglect. What is salutary? What is a good synonym for it? Beneficial or positive. How did salutary neglect work for about 150 years? As long as the colonies, see my laser, were beneficial to the king, let the colonies exist in their own way. As long as they were growing tobacco, cotton, and turning a profit for the crown, the king, the crown, England, let the colonies exist in their own way. Representative governments, freedom of religion, limited taxes, let them exist in their own way. Until, what was the big until? Needed to pay back debts from the French and Indian War. So that is when the king all of a sudden changed his attitude, took off his blinders, and started taxing the colonies, took away the representative governments, sent soldiers to the colonies, started enforcing a whole bunch of laws. All of a sudden, 150 years of relatively peaceful living. Well, now we got our parents really cracking down. And I gave you these two cheeky examples. If it works for you, then good. First example was I take my kids to tumbling. I pay for their lessons. I pay for their clothes for years and years and years. No expectation of repayment. Bam! Hey, Mason. Hey, Salem. Pay me back for all those years of tumbling. My kids would react like the colonists did. What do you mean? I didn't know I had to repay you. That's example one. Example two is sports analogy. First quarter of a basketball game, the referees don't call any fouls. They let the kids play. Second quarter, all those things that they let go, well, now it's a foul. Touch foul, hand check, body check, all those things that did not get called a foul initially, now it's a foul. What do the players react? How do the coaches react? How do the fans react? Hey, you never enforced that before. Why all of a sudden it's a foul? Those illustrations work for you, then good. I think you guys know what a proclamation is. You guys know what a treaty is. You may have to memorize it because there's so many of them. But salutary, that's a tougher word to understand, even to begin with. That's why I came up with these illustrations to try to help you out. So the withdrawing of salutary neglect, the ending of salutary neglect led to the imposing of some taxes. What were some of those taxes? Sugar is in there. Stamp. And then the one in the middle, maybe a little less popular, Currency Act. We're going to tax you on sugar. We're going to tell you you can't print your own currency. We're going to impose a tax on all paper. We're going to require it to have a stamp. Leads to the formation of what? And they are comparable to what? Yeah, Sons of Liberty are reasonably speaking. Can I be done? I really didn't plan to do this. Yeah. Okay. Snaps for Chandler. Everybody, snaps for Chandler. That one just kind of came to me. I was like, hey, someone can hold the flag the whole hour. I don't want to turn into hatred. The Sons of Liberty were formed in response to these variety of taxes. I said they are a terrorist group. I really challenged what some of you think about what is terrorist. But, reasonably speaking, acts of violence on civilians for political aims, that is terrorism. So the Sons of Liberty were terrorists. I went in depth about this tar and feather thing. I told you that I'd seen a picture, kind of the after effects of tar and feathering. I went out and found it. so that I can actually show it to you. Ready to see it? It's not graphic. It's not too graphic or anything. This is a photograph from 1914. This man was tarred and feathered because he opposed World War I. Isn't that crazy? Tar and feathering extended all the way into the 1900s. So obviously no photography in the 1700s, but there is photography of this because it happened in the 1900s. And this is the after effects of tar and feathering. It's not a prank. It's not a ha-ha. It is definitely a crime against someone's body, their health, their safety. This is years after the tarring and the feathering. Like I said, the sores, the burns, basically scarred into the feathers. These feathers are baked into his skin for the rest of his life. So tarring and feathering was not just a ha-ha. It's not like toilet papering someone's house and it gets cleaned up the next day. Tarring and feathering was definitely a crime against decency. And the fact that the Sons of Liberty did this, well, it kind of shows how aggressive they were towards their British tax collectors and their neighbors who maybe sided with the crown. That's called loyalists versus them being patriots. So Sons of Liberty formed in response to all these taxes. And then here is a list of many, many Sons of Liberty. Sam Adams, John Adams, okay, the Adams cousins, they're pretty famous. Benedict Arnold, he goes on to be famous for a whole lot of other reasons. Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. James Otis, his sister. There's Daughters of Liberty as well. And we'll talk about that today. These are the Sons of Liberty. This was review. I hope that kind of registered in your brain. I hope what I was saying in these past couple minutes made sense because it's what we talked about yesterday. Right now, we are going to play a game that I call the King's Cheese Balls. And in order to play the King's Cheese Balls, stop laughing, it's not funny. In order to play the King's Cheese Balls, I need participants of particular roles. So we're going to spin the wheel to determine who plays these different roles. Here's the roles. I need a king. King or queen of England. Okay, whatever person comes up will be the king or queen of England. I need 2 members of parliament. So the next 2 spins of the wheel, boy or girl, whatever, will be members of parliament. And I need 2 colonial tax collectors. I'm going to spin the wheel 5 times, get 5 big players. Everyone else is a player because you are a colonist. You're a member of the colonies. And let's do this. Let's get our participants picked, and I'll explain the rules from there. Can I get a drum roll, please? Oh. It shall be. Oh, too fast. Riley, come on up. Queen Riley. To get you situated. And Riley, you'll sit right here. It's the tallest chair that I have. There we go. All right, next up, we're getting 2 members of parliament. Drum roll, please. Christy, member of parliament number 1. Second member of parliament, who shall it be? Chelsea, we have an all-female leadership of this country of England. We have 2 members of parliament. We now need 2 colonial tax collectors.
Please be Jancy. Jancy! Yes.
Jancy, come on up.
Please tell me. Nope.
And our last person is Kale. Kale, come on up. All right, applause for our cast of 5. Here we go. Tax collector. Now here's what's next. And everybody is going to get a half cup of cheese balls. Tax collectors, I want y'all to be as orderly and tidy and not messy as possible. Get yourself some cheese balls to that level. Raise your hand if you still need cheese balls. Where we at? Raise your hand if you still need cheese balls. Now, first things first, every single one of you, commoner, parliament, tax collector, every single one of you owes 2 cheese balls to the queen. So tax collectors, go collect 2 cheese balls. You might need an extra cup. Go collect 2 cheese balls from everybody and deposit those into the queen's pocket. All right, hear ye. Queen Riley has a decree. There's another act, another tax. Right here, another tax for the colonies to hear. Queen Riley, issue your decree.
If you have jeans with holes, you gotta give me 2.
3. If you have jeans with holes in them, You owe the tax of 3 cheese balls.
Oh my gosh, Harrison,
You owe a tax of 3 cheese balls. Don't play. So you see what's going on here? The tax collector, they scoop off the top for themselves. Parliament, they get some scoop off the top, and then the king, queen, she gets a whole bunch of. So who's got the most cheese balls in the room at this point?
The queen.
Who's feeling a little salty about their cheese balls dwindling? Y'all feeling a little salty? All right, hear ye. Queen Briley has another degree. Let's hear it.
If you have a backpack, you gotta give me food.
If you have a backpack in this room, tax collectors get to it. Collect 3 from every backpack owner.
What a loser! Christian doesn't have
Not tax collectors, be sure to get your scoop off the top. Be sure to give Parliament their scoop off the top. Yep. Hey.
So like you gonna go broke?
Make sure she did. All right, hear ye. Queen Riley has another degree. Hey, chin up, lest the crown fall.
All the guys give me 2.
If you are a male, I love it. My cheese balls. I'm gay. All heads. She got so much money, it's just like overflowing. So much money, she doesn't even know what to do. I can have a conversation with the tax collector who's not doing that great
I
job.
thought I told you to be better than this. Your tax collector in the
You see all these guys over here?
All right, hear ye. Queen Riley has a final decree.
If you play a sport, I want
If you play a school sport, you are hereby declared to give 5.
Cheer is not a sport.
All of a sudden, cheer is not a sport. I'm out. If you play a school sport, if you wear a Red Raider jersey,
I don't have a jersey.
This is not say red guys.
I quit.
Sorry, and my Raiders not
Say
red.
all my sports.
My uniform has sequins, so therefore it's not a sport.
Sir, I quit.
Hey, cheer is not a sport, baby queen.
Yeah.
Go on, you gotta get theirs.
I don't play sports. I said
Don't tell us we're not accepted. Just tell her I need to get them
Alright, this is the final tax. So tax collectors, you shall take 3 off the top.
She'll
Hey,
understand.
Shall get 4. Y'all are such pliable colonists, colonials. You're just willing to give your tax.
Yeah.
Alright, check it out. Let's not miss the learning.
Can I eat the
How many? Now I want to know who's got how many left.
I got
So
one.
regular people, that's you, the commoners.
I got
About how many
13.
do you have left?
13.
Is it less than you started with?
Yes.
Write that line on the top. Significantly less.
I have
Well,
20. Or
okay.
20.
We got 27.
I believe it is less than you started with, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Tax collectors, how you doing? Kale, how you doing?
I got 29.
Jancy, do you have more than when you started?
That's good.
Tax collectors, would you say that there are perks to your job? What's one of the perks to your job?
You get a share of the tax.
You get a share of the tax. What is one of tax collectors? I'm curious. What is one of the hazards of your job?
Getting a
Sons of Liberty.
Anybody get angry at you?
Yes.
So Chandler said assaulted. Jacqueline said simply approaching people. Couple of you throwing out the Sons of Liberty. Riley talked about tarring and feathering, like in the middle of all this. But when we talk tar and feathering, tax collectors, that's you. Usually the ones that are going to get tarred and feathered.
Yeah.
Hey, Parliament, how about yourself? Now, you didn't do any work, right? In this game, you didn't do any work. How did your money shake out?
Pretty profitable.
Pretty profitable. Right? Now, Chelsea said something super important. At one point, Riley was considering not passing any extras to Parliament. Chelsea, what did you say then? She gonna be if the Queen doesn't slide that extra currency to the Parliament. Is the Parliament going to keep supporting the king or queen?
No.
That's an important relationship there. Now, let me make the big point. Queen Riley, sitting fat and happy over there. That's a lot of cheese balls. Like, do you have enough or do you need more? How do you think King George really approached it? Did he have enough or did he want more?
He wanted
He always
more.
wanted Joker always wanted more, right?
Yeah.
Always wanted more. Even though you're sitting with an extreme excess.
Now you can give it back.
Right? You guys have kibbles and bits over here. She got an extreme excess. In fact, at one point it was falling off the plate and she didn't even care. She had so many she didn't even care. Clearly the point I'm making is the king collected taxes and had plenty while the hardship was on the colonists. Raise your hand if you hate taxes. Do you now know why the colonists hated these acts in taxes? Lengthy simulation here to try to make that point. Hopefully we had some fun along the way. Briley, if you care to redistribute your wealth, you may do so. And you are free to munch on your cheese balls at this point. Reset. We'll take our bathroom break here.
You stole all mine.
Let's share them.
Yes. She stole all of mine. Here, Bill, you're gonna.
We'll go ahead and get tidied up on the cups and such. Enjoy your cheese balls for just a second.
Oh, Bradley, give me a little bit. Thank you.
I'll give you some. Yeah, you know.